Welcome to the best and worst of the new vampire movie, Abigail. So this movie is directed by the Radio Silence fellas, Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette, who also directed Scream 5 and Scream 6. And then just to add a little bit more Scream flavor to the movie, in this one, we've also got Melissa Barrera in this, who was the star of Scream 5 and Scream 6 as well. And this movie is based on and is a kind of a reimagining of the 1936 Universal monster movie called Dracula's Daughter. This is another one of those movies as well that was affected by the SAG-AFTRA strikes and kind of delayed production a bit also. And then just another warning, there will be a lot of spoilers in this video. Just a heads up, okay? You've been warned. But now let's get into the plot of Abigail. So after a group of criminals kidnap the ballerina daughter of a powerful person, they retreat to an isolated mansion, unaware that they're locked inside with no normal little girl. And then just a little heads up, towards the end of this video, I'll kind of give my overall thoughts on the movie a bit. But now let's get into the best and worst of. So starting us off, anytime it's a new movie, I kind of don't do the what's aged the best, and I twist it into what I think is going to age the best. So what I think is going to age the best from Abigail, for me, it's got to be the humor and the gore in this movie. There was actually some pretty solid humor and some pretty good jokes throughout the movie. Like the audience I was with wasn't a huge audience, but still, people were laughing, at quite a few moments in the movie. I found myself chuckling and having a good time with some of the jokes. This is rated R, so we got some F-bombs being thrown out left and right, which I always enjoy. And then also, this is a bloody vampire movie, which we'll talk about a little bit more in just a second, but you get a lot of blood, and I enjoy that kind of thing. And I think that's going to age pretty well for this movie. When you go back and maybe rewatch this years later, you're going to be like, oh, damn, that was a bloody vampire movie. And I remember that. So not only the humor, but I also think the gore is going to age pretty well for this movie. Now, what do I think is going to age the worst in this movie? To me, it's gotta be some of the fake vampire teeth in this movie. So some of the teeth were actually really solid and kind of scary and looked very realistic. But at other times, you'd see the vampire teeth on somebody and you're like, that just looks like they shoved a prosthetic into their mouth in 5 minutes and it just doesn't look that real. And I know, they probably didn't want to go back and post for all of them, but at moments in time, some of the teeth that some of the vampires had in this movie, I don't know, it just looked a little bit cheesy, corny, and just not that good. It looked like a expensive teeth version that you would buy at like a Spirit Halloween and then throw into your mouth. It just didn't look that great. There were times where it looked really, really good, but there were moments also where the teeth didn't look that good. So I think that's not going to age too well as we kind of go back and rewatch this movie from, in years later. You're going to be like, that doesn't look right. All right, moving right along to best character in Abigail for me, which is going to be Frank, who is played by Dan Stevens. I'm a big Dan Stevens fan ever since I saw him in Downton Abbey. He plays Matthew Crawley in that show. There's probably not a lot of people watching who have either seen Downton Abbey or give two shits about what I'm saying right now, but still, I'm a big fan of his work, not only in that show, but just in general. I think he's a good actor. But Frank in this movie, I think he does a good job playing the villain. I think his banter with Melissa Barrera's character is solid. I think his banter just with the other characters is good. I think he just does a good job in this role. Yeah, maybe the accent is a little iffy at times because he's translating like an English accent to an American, Queen's accent. He's a former cop. Yeah, it's a little maybe iffy at times, but I think he does a really good job in his role. I think he's somebody who comes across as like a believable dickhead, somebody who you kind of hate, but also kind of enjoy, in my opinion, watching because he has some funny moments. He gives us some good, funny lines. He's kind of a no nonsense, no BS kind of a person. And I enjoy watching people like that. And I think Frank's a good character. My favorite character in the movie for sure. Matthew Good is in this movie. He plays the dad. Who shows up at the end, and with the great voice. I would love to see him in a sequel. If we get a sequel to this movie, if this movie is successful enough, that'd be great to see him. Another dude from Downton Abbey. I don't know. Maybe Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette are fans of Downton. I don't know, because we get two characters. But regardless, another little thing is this is actually Angus Cloud's last movie he ever made before he passed away a couple years ago, I think it was. So sad about that, but luckily he was able to film everything for his last role and things. But yeah, you probably remember Angus Cloud possibly from shows like Euphoria. I can't remember other stuff he's been in, but sad that he passed away. But yeah, this was his last movie. So just a little something there to note. But worst character in Abigail for me is definitely going to be Rickles, the sniper. He's just kind of a throwaway character. Like, who is this guy? What's his purpose? I mean, I get it. He's trying to hit on Melissa Barrera's character, but what's he doing? You know what I mean? Like, he gives us an okay little kill that we don't really get to see. We just see the aftermath of like his throat and face ripped apart. Other than that, Rickles is, I just feel like a throwaway character. You know, he's kind of quiet, doesn't really do much in the movie, I would say. So worst character in the movie for me was Rickles' character. But overall, I think the characters in this movie and the acting just in general in this movie and the casting was solid for sure. Enjoyed most of the characters in this movie for sure. All right, moving on to best line in Abigail. So best line for me, probably just for personal reasons, is when Sammy says to Peter, the big muscly guy, "Why do you have a dick on your face?" And it's just, for me, it's just because when you write a dick on somebody's face, you know, a lot of young guys have done that before. That's the question you want them to get asked at some point when they wake up. That is the exact question. You want them to wake up, and then you don't want to be the person saying it. You want to watch them walk over, and somebody just looks at them, especially in a moment like this where a lot of shit's going down, and everything pauses for a second, and they just look at him, and they're like, "Why do you have a dick on your face?" So that was fun. I don't really have a worse line actually in the movie for me because my cell phone shit the bed, which is where I usually notate where's my worst line, and it didn't work out. So we don't have a worst line. Sorry about that. But anyways, moving on to best kill in Abigail for me. So this movie is very, very bloody. Of course, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. It's super bloody. But there's not necessarily a lot of like inventive, unique kills per se, which is not surprising for a vampire movie. So there's a lot of blood in this movie for sure. But my favorite death kill in the movie would have to be Catherine Newton's character, Sammy. Her death, just because it was like a, whoa, what just happened? When Melissa Barrera's character kind of like beams the sunshine onto her off of like the silver dinner tray thing. And then immediately she just like explodes into oblivion and blood sprays all over the room. You're just like, holy shit, what just happened? You know, I thought that was kind of just a fun moment and just kind of reiterated how much blood was in this movie. Tyler Gillette and Matt Bettinelli-Olpin actually had to like apologize throughout production for this movie for the amount of blood that the actors had to have all over them and just the gore in this movie. They're like, guys, I'm sorry. I know this is getting messy and sticky and bloody and we're putting you through a lot of shit, but yeah, just the sheer amount of blood in this movie, they had to apologize a lot. So yeah, like I said, it's a gory movie, definitely, as you know if you've seen the movie. So yep, Sammy's death, my favorite death, just because it's like a, whoa, that just happened kind of a moment. But all right. Worst kill in the movie for me would have to be Peter's, the muscle guy, because he kind of just gets bit and then his blood drained and then he's dead kind of a thing. So that death was just kind of whatever for me. That's the worst kill in Abigail for me. Best moment in the movie for me is going to be, I really like that whole sequence when they find Lambert at the end in like the control room, watching everything go down. They get the reveal of like, oh, damn, this is who Lambert is. Lambert was actually working for them the entire time. He was in on this. He had been turned by Abigail. I think it was Abigail or her dad. I think it was Abigail. Had been turned by them and had an agreement with them. So we not only learn about all of that, but also I love the moment when Frank betrays Lambert. You know what I mean? That just puts the cherry on top for his character and just lets you know truly how he is and who he is and what he used to be when he was a cop. I just love that moment. You know, it's also another one of those moments where, because you think Lambert, that actor, is a very good actor. So you're probably in the back of your mind, I know at least in my mind, I was kind of thinking like, okay, we're probably going to continue on a little bit of a journey with this character. Nope, he's dead. And another one of those moments like, you know, Sammy's death, where you're just like, oh, okay, damn. And Melissa Barrera just gets sprayed with blood guts and everything. So another like good kill and good betrayal and just like a good moment, surprising moment. I enjoyed that when Frank betrayed Lambert. Best moment in the movie for me. Worst moment in Abigail for me is that whole scene where they're all, it's like the first couple hours where they're there in the house, in the second house, and everybody's just hanging out, having drinks, and Melissa Barrera's character is kind of like supposed to, her character Joey is kind of guessing everybody's backstory. It's like, I feel like we've seen that scene in movies a million times. It's nothing unique at all. I just felt myself kind of sitting there like, can we move on to the next thing? This is not interesting. This is not, you know, anything unusual or unique, or, you know, like, can we just move on to some more child ballerina rampage, please? Can we just move on? You know, I just thought that scene was just boring. Been there, done that kind of a thing. And that was kind of my worst moment in the movie for me personally. And the moment where I kind of found myself probably the most bored. So yeah, that's the best and worst of. So my kind of overall thoughts on Abigail are, this is, you know, it's a decent little vampire movie here. It's a fun movie. There's really not much here as far as the story goes, though. Nothing really very unique, just story-wise. I think where this movie really excels is really in three main areas, I would say. It's a very solid cast. There's a shit ton of blood in this movie, like I already mentioned. And there's some pretty decent jokes. I think those three areas, I think, are where this movie really excels. The story, just kind of whatever, but great casting, lots of gore, and some pretty solid jokes throughout the movie. So I had a pretty good time with this movie. Like I said, it's a decent little vampire movie. Nothing crazy here that we've, you know, never really seen before that's going to blow you away. But I do think this is, you know, it very much has similar vibes to a movie like a Megan, but better. I did enjoy this movie a lot more than a movie like Megan. And probably a big part of that is because it's rated R. So it almost feels less, it just feels less watered down. You get like genuine reactions from characters because they're able to say like fuck like 10 times, because that's what people would say when a ballerina vampire is running around slaughtering people and you're trapped inside of this old creepy house. You know what I mean? So you get genuine reactions, which I enjoy. You get good gore, lots of blood, which I enjoy in my horror movies. And I mean, it's a vampire movie. You can't make a vampire movie without a lot of blood. I mean, blood's pretty important to vampires. You know what I'm saying? So, but overall, yeah, a pretty decent little vampire movie. And I had a pretty good time with it. So, yeah. I will say, though, I got real sick of seeing the trailer for this movie. And I mean, yes, it's probably because I go and see a lot of new releases. So I was, especially horror. So I was constantly seeing the trailer for this movie. I really wish I would have not seen a single trailer for this movie before I saw it. I know some people I've heard didn't see a trailer, went and saw this movie, and enjoyed it more than me. And I think I would have for sure been one of those people, because in the trailers, they just spoil so much in this movie. Not only, obviously, they spoil that the little girl is going to be a vampire, but just so many other things. Like, I mean, for example, Frank's character turning to a vampire. I mean, that gets spoiled in like the first trailer. I know it's quick and his face is like all covered in blood, but if you just look at it for a second, or if you see the trailer twice, you're like, oh, okay, Frank's going to be a vampire. Stuff like that just gets spoiled. So definitely one of those movies that I wish I would have never seen a trailer for. Honestly, I think, I don't know, it's hard to do, but there's a part of me that when I go and see movies nowadays, I think I might just do something else or shut off my brain when the trailers are going, which sucks because I love trailers and I also just want to find out what's coming next. Especially I like to see trailers on the big screen, but I might have to just stop watching them. But so yeah, try to avoid trailers if you can. If you haven't seen this movie yet, you probably shouldn't be watching this video. But anyways, Thanks so much for watching the best and worst of Abigail, everybody. If you enjoy horror content like this, there is plenty of horror content around this channel, so make sure you subscribe. Check out one of these videos next to me if you want some more content from me right now. A ton more best and worst of videos and just a lot of other stuff. But anyways, everybody, my name is Matt, and I will see you in the next one.